Hi, this is Melanie for Pardesi Reviews, and I'm here to do a movie review of the Malayalam psychological thriller Manichitrathazhu, starring Mohanlal, Suresh Gopi, and Shobana. If you're new to Pardesi Reviews, I do film reviews and trailer reactions of Indian cinema. I have been meaning to watch this film, this Mohanlal film, for a long time. When I saw the recent film starring Shobana and Suresh Gopi with Thilakan, and I saw the chemistry of them as an older couple, and everybody said, oh my gosh, you have to see Manichitrathazhu to see them in their prime. And I was so taken with Shobana. I was like, what is her best role? And this is the film that everyone said. What a combination of acting talent in this film. It's like all of my favorite character actors from classic Malayalam films. You have Lalitha, you have Innocent. He's the first person that we see. He plays the husband of one of Suresh Gopi's aunts, and Suresh Gopi and Shobana are coming to back to their ancestral village, and there's this, their ancestral home is this huge mansion, and everyone is superstitious that it's haunted. So our opening scene is seeing the very funny Innocent going in to kind of check out to see what painting work and things have been done, and the audience is laughing because he's spooked by a broom falling over. This film, directed by Fazil, had its 25th anniversary just a couple of years ago, so there was a great article in Film Companion just talking about all sorts of trivia and little known facts about the film and the making of it. And the idea came from, I think, a real-life tragedy of a prince or something being killed, a landowner being killed in a huge mansion. So they kind of are talking about mental health issues and superstitions around exorcism and things like that. So the rural setting makes a heightened things of, well, these are the legends, these are the stories, and everybody has all of these superstitious beliefs, which makes just kind of this heightened tension, and the ghost stories and all of that. So that is our setting of this story. The interesting thing is Mohanlal, although he's the biggest one on the poster and everything, he doesn't come into the film until quite a ways into the first half. This film, I didn't know where it was going. So everybody else, you've seen this film, you know what it's about. It's been out for 20 whatever years. So if you've not seen it, I'm heavily going to get into spoilers and talking about this film. But just know that in watching it, I really didn't know where it was going. And the fun of it is that there's so many red herrings, or the director is steering you to think one person is behind all the disturbances, if it's a real person and not a ghost, and so you keep going back and forth like, oh no, it's this person, and then you're tricked, and your perspective kind of keeps changing and evolving. And then when Mohanlal's character comes in, Suresh Gopi is sort of the rational one, saying, all this superstitious stuff is nonsense, but he's afraid that there's that this woman, Sridevi, that she might be mentally disturbed, and she might be behind all these incidents that keep happening. And so he brings in his friend, Sunny, who is a psychiatrist. Now, Mohanlal's part, I'll just have to tell you, I found, while I enjoyed the comedic elements that he brought to the film, when I saw where it went at the end, I was like, that was kind of odd in tone, because it just really shifts on a dime sometimes from having a very, we call them like jump scares, you know what I mean? Where something, people get frightened, there's screams in the night, whatever. And then kind of the next thing is Mohanlal having funny, flirtatious, very funny banter with Lalita over a missing bunda. Like all sorts of kind of crazy little set pieces of comedy that Mohanlal does. And while I enjoyed each of them individually, it kind of kept breaking the tone of suspense. Now, I don't mind a little bit of a jump. Oh, laugh, like, oh, I was scared, but that was funny. That was a jump and it wasn't real. I get that. You kind of have to keep building up the tension in a psychological thriller and then kind of releasing it a little bit and then ramping it back up for the audience again. Okay, I get that, but sometimes it just went so far to the edge of silliness that I wonder if it was too much. Although I know this film is praised as a perfect film, to me it was a completely perfect, and I was like, oh, this is okay. Shobana is really sweet. Her character for most of the film is very timid, just loving to Suresh Gopi, but kind of wide-eyed and exploring the house, and just she doesn't have this forceful personality. And then, oh my God, the last 45 minutes of this film. Wow. Wow. This film is building up to a climax I never could have imagined we were going to the scene that happens at the festival. And you're like, okay, the ghost is supposed to be the ghost of a Tamilian dancer. And I'm like, where's the dancing? Like every single song up until that point in the soundtrack is, I mean, beautiful, soulful music, but there's no dancing. And I'm like, okay, so is Shobana going to dance in this thing? Oh my God. The climax, oh, wow. Like just all of it, wow. Her performance, incredible. Like she won a national award for good reason, because the transformation, even within one scene, I mean, Mohanlal kind of just sets it up, and he asks her to deny her something, and then she just snaps. Wow. Like, it was incredible. But then when she's really hallucinating and the director shows us the scene going back and forth from what she's seeing around her, which isn't real, to what is the real scene that the rest of us are seeing. Wow. So one of the film companion articles talked about that Shobana helped Fazil with the editing of those dancing scenes because she was such a talented dancer, kind of what would be effective to switch back and forth in the editing, what to showcase and so forth. And they were looking for someone to be her match of a dancer, because the legend of the ghost was that her lover was this other incredible talented dancer. And so they found this guy, incredible dancer, I think his name was Shekar. I don't know that he had acted in a film before, but wow, the two of them were equally matched in their dancing talent, and it was amazing. Absolutely amazing to watch. So I've kind of talked around everything. If you haven't seen the film, it isn't as incredible as everyone said. I watched it on Amazon. I'm not sure it was the best subtitles. And some of it, I'm not sure if it was the subtitles, because I could hear Mohanlal saying English words, but I was sort of like, that doesn't mean what I think you think it means. They were interchanging psychic and psychiatry. And those are two very different things in meaning in English, or at least American English. A psychic is someone who is like, who sees ghosts, who could speak to the spirits, who can tell the future, who can read people's minds. And so a charlatan, or I mean, like, it could, it's kind of has a connotation of a charlatan. And psychiatrist or psychiatry, that's completely different. That's, like a medical doctor who helps people with mental illness or therapy or whatever. So Mohanlal's speeches, when he was kind of explaining the mental illness, he was going back and forth, but also thinking about it later, because this is really how he's trying to explain it so the people in this rural area can understand it. Because the final scene, it's set up like an exorcism, really. And saying she's cured, whereas in American psychiatry, it would be, okay, we've reached a point, a breakthrough in therapy, and now we need to continue medication and therapy for years. If someone is that disturbed, this is spoilers now. So this film is really about split personality or dissociative disorder. The first time I ever saw a film about this was, I think it was a 1976 film called Sybil, starring Sally Field. And it was based on a real woman who had 16 personalities. And she had had severe sexual and physical abuse as a child. So there have been some iconic films in Hollywood. Fight Club, which actually I haven't seen, is supposed to be about split personality. So there have been iconic films, but I think that's what this film was trying to do, is partially educating people to see what it would be like, because similar things to the Sybil, in that she doesn't remember these episodes. She even talks another language, or she speaks in a different kind of a voice when she's the other person. The way they set up the childhood trauma, though, I'm not presenting myself as an expert on dissociative disorder, but dissociative identity disorder, but from what I understand, it has to be pretty severe abuse, and then it would be extreme stress that would bring it on. And that's kind of where, if there's a flaw in the film, it's that they've set up that her childhood trauma, yes, she was raised by a very superstitious grandmother, and her parents weren't involved in her life. And they kind of said, like, the first episode was when her parents transplanted her to Calcutta, which was so unfamiliar to her. Okay. But then when she's in the timeline of the film, her marriage with Suresh Gopi is so, loving and even-keeled, and seems quiet and not stressful. It's not like he's presented as the most loving of husbands, not someone who is abusing her or something, or bringing echoes of trauma from her childhood. Like, I don't know, that was one thing that just didn't really make sense to me, that I wasn't thinking that this was a multiple personality kind of issue, mental health issue, until Mohanlal was explaining that to the audience, and to Suresh Gopi, trying to explain to him what is wrong with his wife. I was like, oh, I thought we were going on a supernatural vein, that she literally was going to be possessed. And so I was just kind of like, okay, we're in a horror movie. And then I wasn't expecting we were going that way. And because of kind of the differences in the way they were explaining things to the way it would be in, like I said, an American film, or like the Sybil movie was a lot of therapy sessions, and hypnosis was a part of that. And that's something that Mohanlal's Dr. Sunny is supposed to be an expert in. I don't know. But anyway, I thought leading it up to that point, and all of the kind of fake outs of us as an audience trying to figure out what was going on, the moment that she snaps, whoa. Like, you're not even sure you believe Mohanlal, and then when you see her, Suresh Gopi then breaks down in tears after that first episode. And we as an audience are just like, oh my gosh, they have such a loving marriage. Like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? She's a danger to herself and others. But then the dance sequence, when she's really hallucinating. Now, this is one interesting thing about the article that I read about the 25th anniversary, was that the idea for her to really feel that the ghost identity could move on was that she needed to get revenge, and she needed to kill the landlord ghost, right? And so it was Suresh Gopi who came up with the idea of, since she has to stab him with the with the sword, and memorably she wanted to drink his blood. Oh my God. To have almost like a musician's turntable, where at the turn of a pull her lever, whatever, that Mohanlal can quickly switch it, and that, you know, what was on top, suddenly Suresh is below stage, and then it's a dummy that she's attacking. Oh my gosh, that scene, incredible. So, I mean, everything is building up to that incredible climax ending. Unforgettable film, unforgettable performance. So impressed, so impressed. Now, when we see this film, Suresh and Shobana are an established married couple. So if you have another film to recommend to me where we see a full-fledged romance between the two of them, I'm sure there is one. Please recommend another film, because I want to see another Shobana performance. She really blew me away in this film. Suresh Gopi I thought was great, but it's her film and Mohanlal's film. Like I said, Mohanlal's character, I don't fault him as an actor. It's the way the script was written, and it's also my sensibilities of being like, wait a minute, if I'm in a horror film, I shouldn't be having like this madcap, crazy comedy moments every so, I don't know, it just, especially in the first half, it was just kind of like whiplash, like, wait, okay, now we're scary, now we're laughing. But I know it was the point of the director to do that. It just was kind of odd to me. But when we get to those serious points in the second half, those last 45 minutes, when Mohanlal is interacting with Suresh and Shobana and really explaining the illness and being so gentle with Shobana and just kind of steering this crisis point to bring it all out to the forefront and deal with it. Oh my gosh. Wow. And I did enjoy his little marriage proposal at the end, a little epilogue to the Sridevi character, played by Vinaya Prasad. She was very good. And one other sour note for me was that he was making everyone believe that it was Sridevi that was the one that was mentally ill, to protect Ganga, played by Shobana, from like having a psychic breakdown too soon, or I don't know. And that was kind of just weird how he threw Sridevi into a room, literally grabbed her and threw her on the ground, then took her into his confidence and said, you know, it seemed to me it was like at that point that he brought her into his confidence and said, please keep this secret, it's Ganga. Well, we don't hear that as an audience. We hear it later that she was in on it, and allowing that. I just didn't like seeing him throw a woman around. I mean, again, it's just like, oh. But overall, so glad I watched this film. Thank you for recommending it. Just like one of those absolutely amazing classics. And I mean, we had also Thilakan, making a memorable appearance at the very end of the film as I don't know what his role was called, like in the subtitles is sort of that he was a tantric priest. Nedumudi Venu also playing Suresh Gopi's uncle. So, I mean, all these character actors that I have loved in other classic films, and it was just like they were all together in one film, and that was great too. So, love to hear your memories and thoughts about this film and what you would recommend for me to see next, especially Shobana. I'd love to see a more romantic film, but wow, was this a performance. Amazing. Thank you so much for the recommendation. Follow me on Twitter at PardeziYT. Subscribe here to Pardesi Reviews. And if you hit the bell when you subscribe, you'll never miss another trailer reaction or film review.